So, welcome to the Pimax Now Q&A, top questions after the show. So here we're gonna go through all the backer questions, or as many as we can get into maybe an hour's time, and then we'll have a few announcements and various other things to do. But Martin, you have a couple things to say.
Yeah, so hi and welcome back again. This is an additional video to the original or the main Pimax Now event video. If you still haven't seen the original event video, which we just aired on the Pimax YouTube channel and also my Sweviver YouTube channel, please do so first, because that video really explains everything. It tells you a lot about the shipping of the 8KX and all the other parts. I mean, it's a 1.5 hour long show, so please watch it first and then you can jump right into this Q&A or questions and answers video. So you probably have seen the main show already, and I would like to say once again, thank you so much to Nordic, the Pimax CEO, for the lovely and very honest speech he made in the beginning of that show. So Kevin, what's the schedule here?
Well, I guess we kind of identified some of the top questions that we thought were more important, that had kind of a more general impact of this soon. But also we have a few quick items to roll into that the team asked us to mention, that we felt we should mention. First off is that the new 8K Plus is now available on Amazon in Europe. So now the 8K Plus is now in stock in Amazon in Europe. So that's item number one. Another item that I think we didn't mention or didn't talk about too much in the first show is that the KD masks, the ear cups, do touch the ear.
Yes.
So they are on the ear modular audio strap. And then the third item was that the Artisan, the blue edition, is just limited quantity. It's just a limited quantity device. It's not a mass production device. It's a limited quantity device. So
right, Kevin. I'll just fill out some details here about the 8K Plus. It's just a headset only for now, because we're first shipping the S masses with the 8KX, of course, and we have a lot of other orders and stuff to fulfill. So we're starting out by sending those 8K Plus through Amazon in Europe. Only the headset only. It's not bundles. It's only the headset.
There's no bundles. It's just the headset.
Right, and the KD masks, the on-air solution. We never mentioned that, but we're doing it now. So it's going to have air cups basically, and it's going to touch your ears, which means you're going to get most likely more bass, even higher volume and such. We don't have this, or I don't have this sample at my office here right now yet, so I haven't tested it yet.
I guess we could mention that it's bigger, that it's physically, that the ear cups and the area on the ear is physically larger than the DMAS and the others. It's noticeably bigger, but it's designed to put out the best sound we could come up with for the 5K Plus, the Artisan, the 8K, and the XR. So for those headsets, it should be extraordinarily nice.
Absolutely. And the Artisan Limited Edition, it is a very limited edition. We have to add this because this offer of $449 for the Artisan with the ruggedized blue RE housing and the comfort kit, it may be an offer which we have only for a couple of days. It depends on the demand, of course, how many orders there will be. So hurry up. If you want one, hurry up now. We never know how long this offer is gonna stay.
If you want one of those, you jump on it, definitely.
Right. So Kevin, should we jump into the questions now, or?
I agree. Let's just jump into the questions, and we'll start. I mean, one of the first questions that we know, we actually inserted this one, but this was something that we've talked about. But some people, the USB-C port on an 8KX is only available on the bottom of the headset and not on the top, versus 8K Plus, it has it on top and the bottom. The question was, why is that exactly? And so the answer to that is that the 8KX uses a new chipset, and it's a totally new design. It really is a different headset than all of our previous. It's powered by USB and a lot of other things. The technical reason is that the that the new chipset is physically bigger. It's physically larger, and it made it where there was no room for the USB port up in the top. So, there's just physically no room on the PCB to fit it in there. It wasn't a power issue or a cost saving issue or anything like that. It's just that PCB up in the top is just too large.
So if we wanted to have the top USB, we would need to like make a new tooling of the housing, I guess. It would take just too much time, right?
Yeah, and of course that doesn't mean people can't still have them all connected at the same time. You could, there's a lot of ways you could still have eye and hand tracking on there. You would just run the USB cable straight to the eye tracking has a pass through on the side, so you could just run that straight to the PC, or you could run it straight to a hub. Actually, there's a lot of ways you could do it. So
indeed.
I think it's probably fine, and it's up to now. It's something no one has ever done. I mean, there's not one application at the moment that supports hand and eye, so it's kind of it's something that it's worth thinking about, but but it's not a major thing. I think the next question that we thought was kind of important was can the eye tracking module using DFR allow an increase of the refresh rate for the 8KX or any Pimax headset can you get a higher refresh rate because of the lower bandwidth from DFR?
DFR is the dynamic foveated rendering, by the way.
Correct. And so we brought that question to the engineers. And so Martin, what did they say?
Yeah, they say they have not tested it yet. They have not tried this, but the engineers will look into the possibility of this. Theoretically, the eye tracking should allow to send a lower bandwidth, which it does, as far as I understand it. But yeah, it's in the progress to be tested and confirmed. So we cannot really answer that question as of now. I mean, we just received a few samples of the final units from 7invenson, so we're still in an early stage of testing a lot of things and adopting our headsets to it.
We should put a cautionary tale in there that the engineering team did say if they thought the possibility was low that they could that would improve the refresh rate, but they're going to try.
Yeah, and I think if it's possible, we might get some help from NVIDIA, because we have a close relationship with NVIDIA, which is
and 7invenson too.
Yeah, exactly, and the DFR is based on the NVIDIA VRS. So yeah, there is a possibility, but we'll see.
Yep. So the next question is, if you reduce the FOV of an 8KX, can you then increase the refresh rate? And clearly we've done that before with our other headsets. It's not as it happened before with the 5K Plus and other headsets that we added that later. That wasn't a lot of people don't remember this, but those kinds of things weren't features that we launched with. So it was just 90 hertz and large at the beginning.
Right, and then the 5K Plus got 120 hertz, and then suddenly 144 hertz.
Right.
So the engineers are always striving to improve the things with software only. So you don't have to change your gear, right? But nothing can be done instantly. I mean, not everything can be done instantly.
So we did ask the engineering team, the hardware engineering team, this question, and their answer was yes, you can, except for one, and that we had already tried. And that there was a lot of there were problems with the border area, the field of view, that caused some issues with the edges, and they're working to solve that. Yeah. They say there's no guarantee that they will solve that, but they think they can. But we'll see.
Interesting. So the next question is the integrated headset Bluetooth radio the same in the 8KX as the previous Pimax headsets?
Yep.
Kevin, do you know the answer here?
I do. So the Bluetooth radio is the same as in previous Pimax headsets, except we've been making improvements to the design. And remember, there's more to it than just that chipset. There's also the signal strength, there's the firmware, there's the compatibility. There's a lot of aspects that make that work as well as it can. And the team has enhanced all of the other aspects of it, including increasing the signal strength among a number of other things. So it is better in the 8KX than any of our other headsets. It's actually better in the 8K Plus as well. But the 8KX is a new design, and that is our best design.
Yeah. All right.
Go ahead.
Yeah, let's jump into the next question.
Yeah.
Are there any electronical or specification differences between the blue housing Artisan and the black housing Artisan? And
Right.
now, when talking about the blue Artisan, we're talking about the first blue version, which was not ruggedized, right? As far as I know, we
Right.
send, I think it's like hundreds of Artisans, or maybe in the thousands. I'm not
Just
sure.
simply blue.
Yeah, there was another
Yeah.
batch of the plastic color. It was blue, and
Yeah.
the answer we got from the engineers and the entire Pimax team that no, the blue and black housing Artisan use identical electronics.
Yeah.
The field of view should be identical between
Yep.
the two both models, and the difference is only housing and nothing else. So that's confirmed now.
Yeah.
There shouldn't
To
be
be
anything.
clear, there's no difference between any Artisan electrically that we ever made. All of the Artisans are identical across the board from the very start.
Although there is one thing that might differ, and that is on the comfort kit, the main plastics. I'm not talking about the foam here as far as I know. Maybe it's the foam
The
as well.
thickness, I guess, that too,
Yeah.
but
Yeah,
plastic, absolutely.
Yeah, I think on the blue plastic or the blue Artisan, the rubber, I mean, it is plastic, but it almost feels like rubber. It's a little bit thicker and a little bit more stiff, if I'm not wrong here. So that might be the difference, but that should really not, change the field of view. No.
Get a difference in any aspect between the headsets. No. They're identical in every way. So
right.
It might be some kind of a quality control thing or something like that, but there's no purposeful differences between any of them.
Yeah. Also, the field of view is quite individual. Some people can see 10 degrees more than others. It's very subjective, depending on how your IPD, first of all, I mean, how far away your eyes are, and then also how deep your eyes are inside of you, I mean, on your face. So it's so individual for everyone. So if your friend has a blue Artisan and tells you that he has a wider field of view, that might be because he can see that, but not you. And so
it's hard to get that in a really exacting way.
Yeah, definitely.
So next question is, will we implement the color controls and reinstate the black level controls for the Pimax XR? And, we did bring this question up to the engineers, and their answer was, it's gone.
Yeah, obviously, yeah, they were testing some other things, and I'm not sure why they really removed it, but we're gonna get an answer, and they were working to bring these back to those settings because they existed.
I think that was a mistake of some sort in that was one of the builds. They say that they will get that back in there, the original black controls back in there, and then they're going to add more. They're going to look at adding more color controls and other things. Yeah. The second part to that question was, do we have any plans for OLED headsets in the future? Anything that we're working on the OLED side, or things that are kind of in the works behind the scenes or whatever? And the answer to that is no. We don't have any OLED headsets on the burner at the moment.
I think it's too early. The technology is not there yet, especially when it comes to high resolution OLEDs and RGB stripe OLEDs. Some VR companies, some VR companies are making their own panels, but they're still quite low resolution. I mean, I don't need to bring any examples here, but there is really no 4K panels with OLED and stuff. So yeah.
I would add that I would make a small addition to that and say a lot of people could really improve their own XR headset. I mean, you're going to be able to get the KD Mass and add that to your XR. You're going to be able to get the comfort kit. You can add the new thin foam. There's some things you can do to really improve your existing XR, I think.
Right. So when will Pimax allow customers to track more than 2 tracking pucks? That is a question that I'm really... I'm very surprised to even see that question, because I can tell you that I am using... Yeah, we're talking about the trackers here. Yeah, for full body tracking and stuff. Yeah, and I have been using I have 4 of them. Mainly, most of the time I use 3 of them, and they have been working with the devices ever since the beta M1 phase, the first 8K headset, which I had back in 2018. So I'm not sure really what the problem is here, but they
even worked before we had it, where it would show the graphic where you could see them all.
Yeah.
There was a time when it would only show 2 of them in the graphic, and now
Right.
it shows them all.
Yeah, I
But
remember I also
we don't
included.
know what would be the origin of that question.
Yeah, I
So
also included track. I
does
mean,
that?
all the 3 trackers in my first Pimax 8K review, the long 3.5-hour video. I mean, I remember I added that because it was working back then, and it still works yet today.
Yeah.
It's not had been
Yeah, that would be a
removed.
mystery. If someone's having trouble doing that, they should create a ticket and let the team help them out, because that functionality is already in there. So,
Absolutely.
and it has been forever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, why does PyTool 260, which is the latest one, have such a low GPU utilization compared to the previous PyTool versions, Kevin?
Yep. We asked that question to the engineering team. We had a meeting that revolved around a lot of those kinds of things, and what they want to do is put together a more detailed answer that they do later, which that goes into what arrives at the GPU utilization for different versions of PyTool. Of course, we want to expand on the control that you have on that in PyTool. First stab at that was the GPU catalyst, which which comes into our next question, which is many features of PyTool are undocumented. You're going to document PyTool and the GPU catalyst, and the answer to that, the team also answered that question. Yes. We're as a group, we're gonna put together some really nice documentation for PyTool, and which will give you a total explanation on what the GPU catalyst does, and we're gonna put together a pretty nice manual for PyTool, and better all the tool tips will be better, and a lot of that. We're going to work hard on that aspect of it. In fact, we're going to be working hard just on making PyTool friendlier and more and more explanation on what it's doing when it does it.
Right, and also additionally the Pimax VR Experience, the VR environment I'm working on right now, which we will be a whole team working on it very soon, I hope, and I think so. Yeah.
We have volunteers, so that's good.
Yeah, it's already prepared to have tooltips. I already made the buttons and stuff, so I could basically add tooltip buttons in the next couple of days for all the functions and buttons and stuff. So that's going to be there as well for any beginner to understand what power projections.
Your VR experience already does so much. I mean, it's not just something that we just started on. That he started. It's been working on this for a long time, and it already has a ton of functionality built into it.
Yeah, it's been quite a few months. Yeah, I mean, I started very simple. That was back in the beginning of the Corona outbreak, I think. I was just sitting at home. I couldn't travel. I couldn't do much during my working hours. So I decided, yeah, I mean,
we talk about this all the time.
Yeah, we planned so much. We were like making big to-do lists and stuff. So yeah, it's we're getting there. That's so exciting.
It's going to take some time, but I think it's going to be one of the more exciting things we have.
Yeah.
And that really impacts the average person who gets a Pimax and plugs it in, and what happens next. That whole piece is what this affects.
Yeah. Currently, I'm setting up the cloud web server, which is going to manage all the profiles, which is going to hold all of them. And I will go more into details about this later in another video, and also in the Pimax official OpenMR forums.
Yep. So the next question is, did Pimax cancel the brain warp that was described in the Kickstarter? The brain warp we have now has a different mode of functionality than the one that was described in the Kickstarter. And we did have a meeting with the engineering team about that. And they said that, oh yeah, that one's canceled. They're not working on that. That version of brain warp is something. They changed the methodology that we chose to achieve that end result, and so that data is out of date, and they're not going down that path. They are looking to improve brain warp in all sorts of technical ways,
especially
but not using that methodology.
Yeah, especially smart smoothing. They're working hard on that to improve it, because there's still a lot to be made there to really make this perfectly smooth in 40 or 45 frames per second instead of 90. And but that's in the works. We have dedicated people or a dedicated team for that purpose.
Yep. By the way, we'll be putting we'll publish some notes on these questions. I think we'll publish notes on the top 20 or so, and and have it in writing up on the forums and maybe Reddit after this is done.
Sure, sure.
So the next question is, can Pimax put and enable the beta updates checkbox in PyTools so that customers can opt in to beta versions rather than what they're doing now, where they don't know if the version they're running is beta or not. So what did they say about that?
Yes, they say they're going to implement that. Customers in the future will be able to opt in to beta versions of PyTool, and we will have a checkbox. So yeah, that's confirmed now.
It is.
Great.
So what's next?
Next is when will PyTool implement a reset or calibrate button for motion compensation? It needs to be multi-axis compatible to be useful for most consumers. And that's true indeed. We have had some requests about that, mainly from VR arcades and the companies around the world. And yes, we do plan to implement this in the near future of PyTool. This is also something that the PyTool engineers are working on for the moment. It's very important not only for home consumers, but also for the big arcades, which are supposed to use it, or already using it right now. But right now they're doing some workarounds.
They need multi-axis. They need multi-axis compatibility to compensate more than just one direction. They need to be able to rotate them.
Right. Right.
But so the next question is what?
Will Pimax support the OpenXR standard, and if so, when?
Yep. The answer to that is yes. Robin himself confirmed that we are interested in supporting OpenXR, and he couldn't give a timeline just yet. We had some discussions about how that might work, but one thing he talked about was adding more team members and more engineers so that they can dedicate themselves to this kind of thing. And in the next question, this actually kind of ties into the next question which is, did we abandon open source? Was open source abandoned? And because the original PyTool that was released open source wasn't particularly, it wasn't the latest version. It was missing some features. Could have been better. I think we all agree on that. And what did Robin say about that?
No, we're not giving up open source. The project will going to happen, but we had to put our efforts into other things, especially now during all the releases of the 8KX and the firmwares and all that stuff. It's just been too much to handle at the same time. We're still quite a small team, and we're growing, but we need more time with this thing.
More people.
We need more. We need more resources, but it will come. The open source will be there. Both for the PyTool and for the hardware itself, and also for the Pimax VR Experience. So yes, it is coming.
Robin did agree to add more people that would literally be dedicated to that project. So
right.
He said, "Hey, we're gonna be hiring people specifically for open source, where that's their only job in the company."
Yeah, because doing things open source is not about just releasing the source code and letting others just do it. Like, now it's up to you to improve it.
We don't want to do it that way.
We don't want to put the work on you guys. It's something about we want
to be a team effort.
Team, right.
So the next question is about our live chat system. We had some people say that the live chat wasn't working. It doesn't seem operational. What's going to happen with that? Are we going to release a better live chat system, and if it is working, can we improve it? So what did they say about that?
Well, we talked to Robin in person, and he said that the system is stable. It's very stable, much better than before we changed the platform. But only a small team operates the live chat for the moment. We will extend the hours and also extend the team, which will be available for the live chat support. And we hope to operate
20 hours a day.
Yeah, that's our goal, to operate it 20 hours a day, which is almost day and night. Almost 24 hours around the clock. So yeah, it's all about the resources, the manpower.
Yeah. It's just about having more people assigned to those things, and which we're doing.
Yes. So the next question is, do you feel the language barrier is harming English-speaking customers? Many conversations seem to not be understood fully or properly.
Right.
Uh,
Yeah, no, we know I think that's something that we thought about a lot, and but obviously you have to have training, and that's a skill that customer service people have. People that are in the customer service business who are employees where that's their function. It requires training, and it requires practice, and it requires repetition,
yeah,
and and it requires that be their only. It's better when that's their only job in the company. Now, in the past, a lot of our customer service people at Pimax had 4 or 5 other jobs,
right.
and so nowadays, in recent and a couple of months, and even before that, we started moving them into full time, where that was all they did, and adding to that team.
Yeah.
So, so I
And
think I
also,
think that's something that the training will help on.
yeah, and also we have to add though that, I mean, Pimax is there's an evolution happening. I mean, we're improving all the time. We're making new headsets. We're
Yeah,
making new software, new hardware,
sure.
and everything is just what's the word for it? It's
Evolving.
evolving, and
Yeah,
we always need to update all your employees on the support
sure.
side. And it's not always so easy to have all of them. I mean, updated with the latest functions. Like, let's say if we add like some kind of super sampling or whatever, yeah,
Sure.
it's all about informing all those people, and this is something that we will improve, of course.
Yeah, and in that kind of job, also there's some turnover. So,
Sure.
you have some, and so sometimes you're bringing new people in, and they have to bring them up to speed. So, there's a lot of things that have to stabilize over time, and it's just unfortunately it's one of those things that just takes time for a small company to grow it. So.
Yes.
So what's the next thing? We're the cracked housings. So we're going to talk a little bit about people who have housings that have either defects or cracks
Yeah,
or
for
fraying.
customers, yeah, for customers with cracked housings, will Pimax implement an official service where these customers can get their headsets replaced? So the question is basically,
Without sending them to China. Yeah,
yeah, locally,
yeah,
can get repaired, get these units repaired without being required to send headsets all the way to China?
yeah,
And the answer is, Kevin,
yeah. So the that's part of the adding more people to the RMA team. You know, and one of the steps that the team took is to allow customers to send their headsets into the local region instead of to China. And we actually have 6 level 1 service centers. And what is a level 1 service center? That's a service center that replaces and doesn't repair.
yeah, like a
So
hot swap, basically. Yeah.
yeah, and so what they do is what those service centers can do is they can take a headset and then swap it for another one that's of equal age roughly, and send you another one or a new one. And we have those in France, Canada, Australia, Japan, the United States, and South Korea right now.
Right.
And so people who are sending them in are sending them into those local hubs, and they don't have to send them to China.
Yeah.
Um,
And then we
what's
have a
next?
level
Yeah, so
two
level
service.
2 is where you can not only replace a unit, but you can repair it, and you can use housings and parts to repair headsets. And that's what we're doing now. We're taking those 6 centers and we're upgrading them to level 2 so that they can repair in addition to replace. Right now, when repairs happen, typically it's had to go. Those do have to go all the way back to China, and now. And as we add this level 2 to all these places, they'll be able to do it locally.
Yes.
So yeah, that it is coming to where people with the housings can get them repaired, and if it's out of warranty, they could get them repaired for a fee, but it'd be a lot less than just replacing the headset. And the ones that are in warranty, of course, you can just get it repaired or replaced. Yeah.
Correct. Does Pimax plan to include the VAT or VAT in European pricing and show the price in euros rather than dollars? This would be much simpler and more acceptable for European customers.
Yep. No, I know that that's something that you have kind of championed at the company,
Yeah.
something that's very important to you, and you see that, and man, it's kind of an obvious thing that
Yeah.
you should quote the prices in euros, and that
Correct.
and the VAT should be in there
Yeah.
instead of
Just
some random bill showing up.
Yeah.
So the team committed to doing that in July across the board for all of our stores and all of our retail, anything where you buy.
This
And
is great.
yeah,
Yeah.
another question is shipping and customer support can be very difficult for some customers. What is Pimax doing to address those types of complaints? Because you see those stories where you see sometimes you'll see on the internet where people went back 10 or 20 times with some of those customer support reps, and it's just it's scary and unfortunate to see. And what are we doing about that, right? And so I'll go ahead on that one. The answer is one of the problems was they were using China Post and they were using ePacket for the shipments, and those are the ones that got gummed up the most during the current pandemic. And so, man, it ended up causing a lot of shipments to get fouled up. And those items would be things like silicone sleeves, comfort kits, foams, and the small things. We've been using like FedEx and other methods to ship the headsets. So people would wind up getting the headset and having that in their hands, and any of the other parts they would have to wait for. So what did we do? We don't ship using those methods at all now. We completely stopped using ePacket, China Post, and we have a new vendor, much better vendor that's based out of Hong Kong, and so there's no more, and we've actually eliminated the backlog. So there's no backlog on those parts anymore, according to the team. They think they can process everything in 2 business days. So, and they'll come either by FedEx on the headsets or our new vendor. So they say that aspect of it will be dramatically improved.
I see. That's great news. That's great news.
So let's talk about the controllers.
Yes.
Sword Sense a little bit.
Yeah, will the pricing for the Pimax Sword and Sword Sense controllers be the same? Will it be the same as during the Kickstarter pricing? And the answer is no, it will not be the same as it was on Kickstarter, and both devices will certainly be priced higher than the Kickstarter pricing.
Correct.
Yeah.
So that means if you get a refund, so in the event that if you were to, on our previous program, we said, hey, you can get those refunds if you want. If you refunded and then came back later, you should be warned a little bit, where we just throw that out there, that you'd put the money back and it would actually be more. So so it's something to think about.
Right. The next question is, if I order a full Pimax package with sword controllers and base stations, when and how will I receive my base stations? Right.
So there's 3 parts to that answer, and that is number 1, because there's a lot of situations that kind of revolve around that. Some people might have bought it in their Kickstarter, for example, and or a pre-order, or they might have gotten just one or the other. So first answer is, if you kept your stretch goals, which are greatly improved now with our new program, if you kept your stretch goals, we will include your base stations in your stretch goal package. Mm-hmm. So when you get your stretch goal package, which is going to come in a single box, you'll get your base stations in there too. So that's out of number 1. Number 2 is if you refunded your sword controller and you opted out of the stretch goals, in that situation, we'll just send you the base stations. And then number 3, if you do wish to get the base stations early, the policy is the same. And that is, you put in the request, and in that one instance that you will have to pay the separate shipping and other fees. So if you get them separately, break it out of anything else that we're shipping you, then you'll have to pay the shipping and the fees.
That's a great answer. That clarifies a lot.
Yep.
Let's move on to the next one. Right. If I am a backer, which I actually am, and have and you too, right?
Yeah.
And I have a long-standing issue or question for Pimax, does Pimax have a new or a better method that a backer can use to quickly get my problem solved? And the answer to that is, the confirmed answer is that any backer who has an issue we want to quickly resolve any of all outstanding issues you may have. And therefore, we have created a backer-only email address, which is backercare@pimax.com that has dedicated personnel whose job is only to answer those questions and solve those existing problems.
Yeah.
So that's great.
Backercare, BACKERCARE @pimax.com.
Yeah, we may add that in the video description.
Yeah,
here.
put that in the description.
Yeah,
sure.
And also on the website and such, in the forums.
And
cool.
I guess there was one other piece to that support piece that we should talk about, and that is the integration. So what have we done anything that would help everybody, not just the backers, but for pre-orders and upgrade and anybody else, or people that picked up Pimax headsets, even on eBay or something? How do we help them? And we do have a new system that's going to be built into PyTool. So the live chat system, which we do intend on operating for 20 hours a day, will be built into PyTool. So you'll be able to, without creating any tickets, none of the ticketing process, you could ask a question and talk to a support representative right inside the PyTool. And that should benefit everyone, and it'll actually anybody that has a question that could be resolved in just right now they have to create a ticket or they have to go to the forums and try to ask. This will save them a lot of time.
Absolutely. So Kevin, these questions were some of the most important questions I think we had for this Q&A, but we are fully aware of that there is a long list of questions on the OpenMR forums.
Yeah, I'm going to have to rapid fire those.
Here's the thing that a lot of these questions has already been answered, especially now during the Pimax Now event video, which we just saw before this video. But we can just jump through some of these questions here, I think, Kevin. We can just jump through some of them,
So those first obvious. 20, there were some of those 20, those questions we just answered had more than one, piece to it. So there was probably 20, 25 answers in there.
Yeah.
Plus all the answers from the main program, and there's probably 50, 60, 70 answers in there.
True.
So I think what we'll do is right after this, we will take the written answers for those ones we just finished. We'll put that up as a document that people can read, and those answers will be in writing. But for this, we're just gonna. There's so many of these questions. I think we're just gonna have to blast through them.
Yeah, there's some very simple ones like what is the maximum refresh rate of the Pimax ATX at full field of view or the large 75. Field of view? It's not 80, it's 75. Right. As for now, there might be some way to increase it, as we said before, but currently it's 75 in the native, and the upscale is 90 or 120 Hertz. And the DisplayPort 2.0 is not currently something we were working on, not yet, not with this iteration of the headset.
So I guess we'll do every other one. So status of DisplayPort 2.0, I guess that one is it a possibility? Of course, but it's not something we're working on.
Yeah.
Status of wireless for an AKX and upscaled native mode. Actually, we did prototypes. We have a prototype of that. That doesn't even require upscale mode. It can do it in native mode.
Yes.
At the full refresh rate. But the chipset that's based on is not available yet, and quantity won't be until Q4. So you're talking about a 2021 thing for wireless on the AKX.
But the fact is that it's actually possible with native resolution, which is
possible with
awesome.
native. Actually, it's possible with native resolution and higher refresh rates than we're doing. So I think we will be able to release a solution that works for all the refresh rates and the resolutions that we support. It's just a future thing.
Yeah. I mean,
next one.
Yeah, there's a lot of questions we already answered, like how many in the first and second and third batch of the 8KX. There is also another question, which is, how many 8KX are ready and how many can be made in July? And we also answered that. Kevin, you said in the previous video,
215 is the number for the ones we've built. That are in the ones that are come off out of the factory before July the 5th. We shipped
6th,
76, I think.
Yeah.
And then on the third, what is the third batch? I can mention that. I think the third batch is bigger. It's the third batch is 450 units or something like that.
Yeah, so we're way above like 600 units.
Yeah, we'll have all of the. That means that all backers will have their units in July or be shipped in July, and even upgrades will be into that. And then the batch after that is even larger. So we get into after that in the August we get into some pretty substantial size batches.
Right. What about the ghosting?
Much like our 5K plus batches are,
Yeah, and there's one person here asking, what about the ghosting on the ATX? I have not seen any ghosting whatsoever on the ATX.
Yeah, I haven't either.
Not in the upscale mode and not in the native mode. So nope.
It seems razor sharp to me, even at the highest refresh rate.
Yeah, and I've seen headsets with ghosting, but 8K
it does use a different chipset than the 8K plus, so that may have to do with it.
Yeah.
So how long would it take until the pre-order customers begin receiving their headsets? I would say August and September.
Yeah, there's another question which is quite important. Are you going to fulfill all the 8KX backers and pre-orders prior to releasing any to AliExpress or similar sites? Yes, of course. We have done some minor mistakes before where some small batches ended up on eBay, for instance, but that's not going to happen again. Of course, backers. Yeah. That was never our intention to do so. We were all confused actually as well.
Yeah. I didn't like it when I saw it either. So
of course,
Bluetooth radio is the same. We already answered that one.
HDR capable screens? No, there are no VR headsets which are HDR, which have compatibility.
VR, so
yeah. That's something for the future, I guess.
Yeah, it would be more to it than just throwing in you couldn't just throw in an HDR screens and expect there to be anything that can use it. So
yeah, here's a question. Here's a question about what has Pimax done to fix eye strain and distortion in the new headsets? Well, about the distortions, it's all very subjective. It depends on. First of all,
you and I ran into none of that at CES. My God, we went through hundreds of people, and not only that, in the two road shows, we had nobody complain about eye strain or distortion on an 8KX. Nobody.
The thing is, I would like to ask a question myself. How many do you really see distortion on the 8KX or any?
It's so weird when you hear that, and then you have one yourself. It's so weird for me when I read stuff like that, and I actually have an 8K, and I'm trying to, and I see none of that, and it just blows me away. It really does.
And I've met hundreds and hundreds, probably thousands of people on the road shows.
Just think of the number of people that you and I have fitted for these headsets at all the different things. Thousands of people.
Yeah.
I guess that's why you and I are so incredulous when we hear that. It doesn't. Yeah. It just doesn't compute. It's just not true.
Yeah, and you have seen my testimonial videos. I've asked people, do you see distortion? Do you see this? Do you see this?
Asking that over and over and over again, and say no.
And I would say at least 19 out of 20 people say no distortion. I don't see anything. And
but reading on the forums, you'd think it's happening to everyone. You think it's just some sort of endemic thing, and it's just not true.
Yeah, it keeps me wondering why is that.
It happens to everyone. That's weird.
Yeah, how come this topic is so huge when it's obviously not a problem really for 19 out of 20 people out there, or probably
less of a problem even than that. So just don't ever see it.
Yes. Will the 8KX or future headsets have a lens depth adjustment dial like the Valve Index or HTC Vive for less eye strain or better comfort? Well,
we're using phones to change the distance, but that's a good idea, right?
The thing is that we would need to change the whole housing, of course. The tooling and all that to make the whole thing adjustable. It might happen in the future, but it's nothing really we want to put our efforts.
Maybe that'll be 2.0 or something.
Could be. But we just have too much of things to finish, to bring out to you all guys. And then we can move on to these stages. So, to these accessories. And as we just said, the distortion is really, I won't call it a non-issue, but it's really, really rare to hear from anyone that he sees distortion.
If it's more of an issue, then it would be something we'd be working on.
Except for the Pimax forums or the OpenMR forums, when you hear about it every day, Yeah,
And so-
but yeah, I'll
okay,
leave it up
so
to you.
8KX loaners, what's the status of those? Well, as you know, we've started accepting those back and sending labels, and I guess I can add that almost everyone returned them.
Right.
So we only had a handful of people who didn't have arrangements made. So yeah, no, we're all set to get everybody their headsets in July, just like we said. So get them shipped. Uh,
Yeah.
and what 60% will have their headset, or almost 56% will have their headsets shipped before the 6th. So we're not even talking any time at all.
Yeah.
What's next? Let's see.
Next, we already went to the artisan question
Yeah,
and
the
also the
60.
last
Yeah.
8KX loaner question.
With the XR, will there be any, would be a super XR or anything like that? The answer is no, nothing in the works like that.
Yeah.
Are we going to improve the software? Yes, they've committed to that, and they're going to do some things there. So, what else we got? See,
The head strap. I'm very interested in an official rigid head strap.
Yep.
He probably means the S-Mass or the standard model or the strap. Yeah.
I guess the question would be, when will we be selling those? Would be where that translates to, right?
Yeah, exactly. And that is, what did we say?
So I can probably answer that to some degree. Of course, people should know we have a lot of them to make. We got 5,000 backers, and on top of that, we have upgrades and pre-orders, and then people who want them. So we got to build thousands of these things. So I would suspect that they wouldn't be available as a separate item to at least October. So my prediction would be something like October before you could buy it. You potentially buy it as a separate item.
Yeah.
That'd be, about. And when will the comfort kit be available again? The team told us this morning that they thought they had gotten ahead of that they were ahead of the number on that. So I think that's something that won't be long.
Cool.
The problem with the comfort kit being unavailable isn't that we make less of them; it's that it's so popular.
Yeah.
That we ended up putting it with every headset we make. Everybody wants it. They don't want a headset without it.
It's such a
People
huge improvement.
Want headsets that don't have it. We get very few requests without it. So therefore, it started chewing up all of our production going into new headsets. So, but they say they got ahead of it. So we should be good with that. And we're going to have to get way ahead of it because it's now included with the stretch goals. So we're going to massively increase the production of the comfort kits. And of course, there's the thin foam that goes with that. So you get there's the two foams. Yes. Will thin and thick foams for the comfort be shipped with all future comfort kit orders? That's a good question.
That's something we have to discuss with the team. I would like to say yes away here, but I hope
just
so.
throw my opinion out. I think that the thin foam is the best foam we've ever made. It's the perfect thickness, and it's closer to the thing, but it's a little bit further away than the other one. The angle's a little different. I think with the comfort kit and the thin foam, that's the best experience we have.
Yeah,
in my opinion.
Definitely. Yeah, so we're going to push for this at least.
I would push for the thin foam to be the default, in my opinion. I think it's better.
Yeah, or just include both of them. We will see.
Or both. It shouldn't. You'd think that would be a possibility. So yes, we would push for that.
Yeah.
Audio. What about the Deluxe? More about the Deluxe. We've kind of answered all about the Deluxe.
I think most of them are answered.
I think we're good on that. We'll pre-order. Still not clear on the difference between standard and deluxe versions. The standard and the deluxe versions have a different audio. There's two things that are different about them. Number one is the type of sound you hear. I mean, you get a lot more booming bass. You get a lot more mid-tones out of the DAS, of the deluxe audio stream. With the S-Mass, it's actually quite good, and the sounds are all very clear. But it's above the ear, so there are some things inherent about solutions where the speaker is originating above the ear. It originates about here, above your ear, and
it's projecting the sound down.
Down,
and it's a 3D spatial sound, of course.
But then on the DAS, it's here. It's not touching your ears on either side. It's outside the ear, and then for the KD Mass, it's actually touching. It has cups that actually touch the ear that slide over it.
It's
so if you have an 8KX or Plus, you can use all three, and if you have a 5K Plus or any of the other headsets, you have to use the KD Mass, and in the future we'll bring more things in there, I'm sure.
Yeah.
What else? What other questions we got?
There's a weird question here, which I actually forwarded to the engineers. Will DMAS allow precise 3D holographic imaging with HRTF, which I have no clue what it really is, but we have forwarded this question and we might get an answer, which we will post in the forums later on. That's something like
you have to you have to get the turbo encabulator attachment for the.
We should ask NASA about this. I don't know.
What is it? What was it? The Marsal veins and the VR virtual Marsal veins, right?
Yeah. Kevin, the next questions are actually about cables, and I totally forgot to add this at the beginning of this show.
Yeah.
This is a little bonus here. I received the optical cable right after we recorded.
Gotta show that.
Yeah, I just received it like an hour before, and I connected it to my desktop PC with the 8KX. It works fine, just as normal. And I also tried it on one of my laptops with the RTX 2080 Ti with an adapter, of course, and it works just fine. It's only one USB. I'm showing you some video overlay here, and as you can see, the HMD end of the cable is right now white, but that's because the cable is not finished yet. So that part is, of course, going to be black when the cable starts shipping to people. And once again, this is an optical interface cable, which means the signal is transferred through the optical interface, or it's not a wire really. It's a faster, more reliable transfer. It also allows us to do longer cables with this kind of interface.
Less signal loss across the length of the cable is a big thing.
Yeah, and as a side note, I would like to add that this cable is a little bit thinner. Actually, it looks thinner than the original cable, which I put here side by side.
And it's still flexible, right?
It is flexible. It's not more stiff, and the team has been really. I mean, they told me that the durability seems to be really good, as good or even better than the original cable. So yeah, I'm really excited.
And one USB port instead of two, so you cut down on one USB port instead of two. And for those that just to mention real quick, we mentioned this before, but. We do have another new cable that lets you connect laptops directly too, with the DisplayPort 1.4 Mini, and that way you don't have to lose signal on the DP on those adapter boxes that you can buy. You can just go straight into your laptop. It's really neat.
Yeah, I'm going to give you more information about the optical cable later on. There might be a video about it, also some more hardcore testings. But let's jump back to the questions.
Gotta get them, man. We got so many. What about the controllers? We talked about the controllers. We got them into prototype phase, and now the engineering teams are all jumping back onto controllers now that the other items are finished.
Yeah. There's one person asking here about the cables. As I said, if anything has been changed or improved with the cables lately.
That guy that has 7 or 8 cables blows me away. That's the only person that's ever had that many replacement cables. Most people have had one cable, that have had it replaced, had one.
Yeah, I managed to see
the guy must be jumping up and down on the thing or something.
I don't know. Back in the beta M1 phase of the first Pimax 8K, I had one of 4 cables, I think, which got a little bit of snowy
I had a snow
image.
cable on one of my on one of my original ones, but the other ones I've used a lot and it's been fine.
Yeah. So.
I would just add that those cables went through a lot of improvements over time.
Yeah.
We're at version 4 of the cable, and with the optical cable, with the AKX, you have versions 5, 6, and 7 because you got the DP Mini and the regular cable plus the optical cable.
Right. And I want to also add. I want to add one thing here, Kevin.
That's really low nowadays for the cables. So.
Right. Sorry for interrupting you, Kevin. I just wanted to add that. We have solved a lot of cable issues in the forums, but also over support tickets and stuff by just simply telling people to unplug this cable. First,
reseat it.
Yeah, take off the comfort kit a little bit, unplug the cable and plug it back, because sometimes the cable can actually get a little bit loose for some reason, even out of the box when it arrives. Just make sure the cable really sits inside, and once it does so, it will not go off. But it might happen that your cable was not just plugged in all the way, and that solved so many problems to people in the past and recently as well. So it's not necessarily the cable which is broken. It just might be that in the production or the production line, they just didn't, well, during the assembly, they didn't just click it in all the way. So that's all.
Okay, so the next question is, has there been anything changed with the lenses and the Vision series and all that? I can answer that. So the answer is the basic lens design is the same. Of course, the panels are a different size. The actual panels are denser on the Vision series, so you have a higher panel utilization and you have less distortion because of that. But the consistency of the lens, of the manufacture of the lens, is where we've improved a lot, and the consistency of the alignment of the lenses is another area. The alignment, last year we started implementing an electronic system to check the alignment, and now we're checking the design of the lens too. So we're doing a lot more with consistency of the creation of the lens itself. So sometimes people would report problems because that were lens related, but it was because of the formation of the lens. So consistency is the key with that. What else? Can people get a drop-in lens? And I think the answer to that is no.
Not at this point, no.
Yeah, we're not working with anyone on some sort of drop-in replacement lenses. The next one is Pimax likes with boundaries. Did we take a look at quantum LED screens? I think you can answer that one.
As far as I know, no, we have not done that.
Yeah, the answer is no. Yeah.
Body tracking. Will Pimax support 3 tracking pucks? Yeah, we already explained that it works. It did so already back in 2018, and it does work with 3 tracking. If not, check my video. I did a video about this, the long Pimax review.
Thing on it.
Yeah, and it's still the same.
So brightness, are we going to reinstate various previously existing features? And so that would be questions 1, 2, and 1 and 2.
Kevin
is yes.
Kevin, sorry for interrupting you once again, but there is one thing I need to add though. There might be the problem here. The thing about the trackers here, I think, I'm not sure if the people who had problems connecting the trackers, if they really paired the trackers with PyTool, because it's super necessary. You cannot pair the trackers with SteamVR as you do with the Valve Index or the HTC Vive. You have to pair all those trackers inside of PyTool, and once they're paired in there, just like the controllers, your Valve Knuckles or the HTC Vive controllers, they're going to be visible in SteamVR and they're going to work for full body tracking and all that. So make sure you pair all your existing trackers in PyTool.
Right. Let's see. We answered questions 3, 4. Let's see, 5 GPU catalyst explanation. All of those are in the previous list of answers.
Lots of these answers has been. Questions has been answered.
Yes, backlight control will be in. We hope to get it back in there. The engineering team's looking at that. Yeah. Is it possible? Let's see.
There is one question which has been asked a lot of times. When can dynamic distortion correction be implemented in PyTool, and will it be usable in every game and application? We don't have the answer yet. This is a little bit up to 7 Events as well, I guess. There's something we have to work with them. I mean, the dynamic distortion correction is all about eye tracking, of course. It's going to need eye tracking. So we will come back to you about this as far as we know if there is any progress or not concerning that. About eye tracking also, about eye tracking, some people are concerned about the ATX and the eye tracking, and as I showed you in the Pimax Now video, there will be a cable included with the eye tracking, and this cable is perfectly, I mean, it's not too long, it's not too short, it just goes around here from the upper side where the eye tracking is, on the side here, and it just goes down into the USB port. Yeah, it's not in your way, in your face. It's not going to be in the way for the DAS or the audio strap. It's not going to distract or hinder the tracking itself, and it's not going to be in the front, so it's not going to look ugly either. So it's really a non-issue to have that cable running to the lower USB port.
See, we answered all the rest of the PyTool questions. So let's go to software. About the OpenXR, we answered that one. The answer is yes. It was confirmed directly by Robin. Open source, have you abandoned the project? No, Robin is highly committed to doing that.
Yeah.
Housing, do we plan on making the black rubberized housings? No, I think we're sticking with blue for now.
For now,
And
yeah.
there's reason behind that, and that is the different color. We found that that the different formulations for the pigment in that coating can affect the tracking. It can decrease the signal to noise.
Yeah.
Or it can decrease the signal to noise ratio.
Yeah, the blue one was flawless, while the black one could potentially cause issues. So that's why we chose to go with the blue one. Not only because of that, but that's one of the reasons.
And the next question is: are we ever going to make it where you can snap in screens and like snap them into? No, there's more to it. You couldn't do that. That would be extraordinarily difficult because you'd have to have the lenses, the whole assembly would have to be in there because they all work together. I don't think what you're asking is really.
I've been in the Shanghai office and in the lab as well, where the engineers has been, dismantling the whole. There's so many pieces in there. There's so many things and cables and such.
And impossibly difficult.
It's not just it's not just a PCB, 2 lenses and 2 panels. There's so much more into this, and the whole construction has to, sit well, how do you say, rigid inside, so it's not moving, so everything has a lot of screws here and there. So no, you would need to disassemble the entire headset to get out the panel. So no, I don't think we will ever have that option.
The next one is a vague window on the wireless. That's something we're now focused on the Pimax controllers. That's our next thing. We're not going to be focusing on the wireless right away, especially because the chipset's not available. But since the chipset is Q4, late Q4 from the chipset that can handle everything, I would imagine that there'd be no possibility before Q1 2021. Let's see.
So about the eye tracking, when do you have developer samples of the eye tracking module available to send out? And he was mainly thinking about the Calibrate,
the original program that we had. Yeah, the answer to that is we're not doing that now since we're shipping the real ones. There's no sampling process or anything like there was. We did actually have some back in the day, but we kept them all internal.
Yeah, we skipped that beta phase we were talking about, and that is because a lot of the work has been done on the 7 events side, and it's actually not needed anymore. Although there might happen that we will send some samples to developers, of course, especially, if they want to implement something in their games, please contact us, and we might arrange something for you.
The key is to get people who ordered and paid their eye tracking. I think is the key. Another thing people should know is. That the eye tracking that the $99 deal is particularly good. The price is going to go up, and if you're a backer and you can get it for $99, you really should, because you're not going to see it for that.
Yeah.
Let's see.
There are questions about dynamic foveated rendering. I already demoed that in the last video. Yes, it is working. It's working in probably like 9 out of 10 games, or even more than that. If the latency is enough, oh yes, there's it's so much improved, especially in the unit I got here now. It's even better than the one from CES, which was really good as well, but now it's even more improved, a lot thanks to the USB-C interface.
The tracking speed is almost instantaneous. You couldn't see any movement of the tracking at all in any of the.
Yeah. Will dynamic foveated rendering work in 144 Hz mode? And yes, well, I tried it in 110 Hz, for instance, on the 8K Plus, and yes, it does. So I don't see any reason for this not to work with 144 Hz mode. It still tracks your eye in 120 Hz either way, so it doesn't really matter what refresh rate you have this. Will we get tools to control mouse with eyes click with blinking? That's something on the UI side. You have to program that.
They do that. That's the whack-a-mole.
Right. You're right, Kevin.
The whack-a-mole demo. You actually do get a demo with the eye tracking called whack-a-mole. Yeah. It's a game that you play with blinking and looking, and they actually do have menus that you can control with looking and blinking. It is in the SDK. It is in the 7 Events on system. Hell, maybe we'll put it in the Pimax Experience, where you could do that. Wouldn't that be cool?
Yeah, of course, of course. Is your eye tracking data used, shared, or sold to third parties?
No,
Absolutely not. There's no
we don't
way
even.
we.
That's not even our. We haven't even. That's the first time I even. You know,
Yeah,
we could look at each other and go, "Ooh, that's an interesting
the
idea."
data is not even stored
Since we never even
anyway.
thought of it before.
Yeah,
Yeah,
the
but
data
the
is
answer is
used.
no, and there's no, not even discussion for things
Yeah, the
like
data is used in real time to track,
all
right? But it's not getting stored on your device. It's not like the GPS stuff that's getting stored on your smartphones and Google then can track your entire life wherever you're going. But it's not the case here. So,
that. So what else we got? We got eye tracking. Does it impact the CPU performance? No.
it does, but minimally. It does, just
Yeah.
like the fixed forwarded rendering. It has some algorithm that has to be taken care of the CPU. But on the other hand, it offloads the GPU so much. If you haven't seen my benchmarks in the last video, you really should. Especially look at the GPU frame times. Which are way lower when using the dynamic forward rendering, even though we're rendering the same resolution in the center view where you're actually looking. So both the frame rate is way better, everything from 17 up to almost 50, not 15, 50% better performance. It's 47 actually.
It's huge, and in fact, you were only driving it to the maximum refresh rate. You're hitting the maximum. In a lot of those cases, the benefit's even more because you're hitting the maximum refresh rate.
Absolutely.
So we got two more questions here. One of them is, will backers and pre-orders get priority over newcomers or not tracking? Yeah, all of these are being made for people who've already ordered. None of them are going anywhere else, as far as I know.
Yeah.
As a backer, how do you purchase the eye tracking at $99? That's easy. You'll use the backer tracking page. So we have this page where you can track your stretch goals. The stretch goal tracking page, you click the link and you can get it for the $99 from the link in the tracking page.
Right. When we're talking about eye tracking and stuff, sorry, let me just clarify something. I think some people might, I've seen some comments and so. Here's the thing. Some people think that, wow, I need to buy the eye tracking to be able to play Skyrim or Half-Life Alyx in 75 frames per second on the 8KX. That's not the case. Mostly, and you probably have seen one of my, specifically one or two of my videos in the past when I was testing both Steam VR games and Oculus Home games on the 8KX. Basically, the majority, most of them were running fine with full frame rate on the 8KX. What I did though with this eye tracking DFR dynamic forwarded rendering test and benchmark was to maximize the high fidelity or the graphical fidelity to crazy levels. It was it's just overkill running the things both in large field of view, which actually a lot of people don't do anyway because the rendering resolution is so much higher on a large field of view instead of the normal, which is just basically 20 degrees or 10 degrees less on each side in comparison. And also I like Half-Life Alyx. It's so super optimized. So it took me like 1.5 hours to actually get a setting where I lost frame rate.
Sure.
So it went under 75 frames per second. And that was to remove the dynamic resolution and also put the fidelity quality or fidelity level to 8, which I think nobody really is using anyway in Half-Life Alyx. So don't worry, it's not about buy eye tracking now to get full frame rate. No. It can help you. It can help you a lot, just like upgrading your GPU.
Yeah, it's like upgrading your GPU, and not only that, you can combine. When you do upgrade to a GPU, you still get the benefit.
Right.
So we got 3 more questions here. Does the eye tracking diminish brightness, contrast, or sharpness? No. Will the dynamic forward rendering add latency in the game? No. Will eye tracking have a better IPD profile? That's something we want to implement but haven't yet. And the next one is, will eye tracking frame reduce the eye box? And the answer is, as far as I know, it didn't look like it at all to me.
That's interesting. That's interesting.
Completely normal.
Yeah, you see, here's the thing. When I saw the eye tracking and I saw those bezels, I was like, holy shit, if I may say so. This is gonna make the field of view less wide, but that's actually not the case. That's really not the case. You still have the same large field of view. You still have the normal field of view, both horizontally and vertically or diagonally. There's no field of view loss using the eye tracking. I would say using glasses, if you wear glasses, in that case, you can actually lose field of view depending on what glasses you have. But on the other hand, you lose that field of view in your real life as well. So you probably are used to that already at that point. But no, eye tracking does not make your field of view.
Last time I tried it the other day. What about the hand tracking? So what's the status of the hand tracking? Well, we mentioned that in the original program.
We did so already, yeah. So there's nothing.
Did we increase the price from 160 to 170?
Yeah.
I think we did.
There might be, that could be the case, or is that including shipping maybe? Yeah, we have to double check that. I haven't seen that question before.
I think we did increase it a little bit, a few bucks.
I think this OpenMR page is updating all the time, so there's like more question coming. I haven't seen that question before actually. Yeah.
So items stuck in Shanghai, you'll have to talk to the tech support about any logistics things. Are we refunding import fees? You'll have to talk to them about that.
Here's the thing about import fees and VAT and all that stuff. When you buy an Oculus Quest or Oculus Rift S or a Valve Index, you actually pay that VAT and import fees already. That's baked into the price of your headset. I don't know if you have noticed it, but the euro price and the dollar price is always different. And for instance, if I just take the Oculus as an example, the Oculus Quest is almost $100 more expensive in Europe than in the United States. And those $100 are basically the VAT and the import charges, everything baked in. Although the pricing is made in euro, which means it doesn't look really that more expensive, but it is. And that's basically applies to any product you buy here in Europe. Normally you have that VAT and import charge included already. In our case, so far we have sold the product without the VAT, which means you have to pay that afterwards, which we are about to change, right, Kevin?
Yeah, that's one of the things that they committed to changing how we show the price and how we calculate it with VAT integrated. So the next three questions are, how do we handle base stations sold into countries that Valve doesn't license? That's easy. We don't. We don't sell into countries that they don't. If they don't license, if they don't have the right to sell it in there, neither do we. Simple as that.
Yeah.
If the new options arise with Pimax NOW Event, can you get the items with your order without delaying? In other words, if you go into something that we're doing new, can you get it without delaying? Yes. Will there be enough 8KXs to be produced and sold on Amazon? No. We're as far as 8KXs on Amazon, probably almost certainly not in 2020. So they'll be through the Pimax store and no other way for this year, most likely.
Yeah.
When the mass and the LH will be sent to the backer without going through a ticket, can you do it without doing a ticket? The mass and the lighthouse will be through if you're talking about stretch goals, so your lighthouses will be shipped in the box with your stretch goal package. So the answer to that question is, we'll put the lighthouses inside the box with your mass and the other stretch goal items, if you have it that way.
Indeed.
ETIA for items reduced in other territories. So as we mentioned earlier, we did start shipping to Europe. Europe now has the 8K Plus in stock. Like I say, it won't be until next year for the X on Amazon, probably.
When will backers receive the rest of the Kickstarter goals? We just told you that in the last video. It's going to start
towards the end of August.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and we combine coupons into one? No.
No, unless we say so, but right now, no, the coupons are not. And the next question is what we can use the coupons for, and that's basically mainly the accessories. Sometimes it's also the headsets. Usually we clarify that what the coupon is.
We've advocated for things like that, but the answer is no.
Yeah.
Please define what we can use the coupon codes on any Pimax item, Pimax made item in the store, and we're pushing for more and more items to be. There will be a lot more items in there.
Absolutely. But first things first, we want to just make all this stuff finished and all this stuff sent out, and then we can start to elaborate with new things. So
a lot of these are duplicate questions, really. When will backers receive the mass? Well, that's they'll get them in August.
The cooling fans, we completely scratched that idea.
That's canceled.
You can buy them already from VR and Chill, I think they're called. It's like $25 or something. You can get them for Pimax, for any other headset. So it's like reinventing the wheel again.
And the Kickstarter promises that you can use your Kickstarter tracking page to to read all about that.
Yeah.
Another one? When will I get the same question? When will I get my strap? Late August. What can I order with the downgrade discount? That'll be any Pimax made item, and we're going to be adding more to that.
Yeah. By the way, we may have to add, though, we told that before, but those questions we're reading here right now, those are on the OpenMR community forums, and the thread is called Pimax Now Questions Organized Compilation. Yeah.
Right.
So yeah, in case you just got lost here.
Yeah. What's going on with the stretch goals? Same question. We're combining them into a single box. You'll get everything in one box. You get to track it all in one web page. So a single web page to see what's going on, a single box with all the items in it, starting towards the end of August. And then the other item that we announced was anybody who doesn't get their tracking number before October 31st can get $150. They can request $150 refund to opt out of the stretch goals for cash.
Yeah.
So theoretically, if you wanted to opt out of your controllers and your stretch goals, you could get, quite a fair amount of your money back.
True. So Kevin, I think we have gone through most of the questions now. I don't think there's any reason to keep on. Yeah.
These other ones that are we launching new products? No. All these are basically.
Yeah, and we will keep on answering a lot of questions in the forums, on the Reddit and such.
All the questions on the first 20 on the support and warranty. We hit every one of those.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess that's it. Those are all you answered in the first set.
So yeah, I hope these answers were helpful for you guys. I hope it helped a little bit to clarify a lot of things.
Yeah.
We also added some cool news about 8K Plus being available on Amazon in Europe.
Yep.
The optical cable arrived. There might be a video about it.
Maybe we should mention one thing that we are interested. One thing we're going to do in the month of July is we're going to ask we're going to get on the forums and we're going to ask people if they'd like to help with the Pimax. If there's some Unity geniuses out there that feel like that want to help, it's not a job type situation, but if you'd like to contribute your expertise to helping push the project forward before we go full open source with it, which is our goal. But we'd like to add 2-3 more people into the team. To contribute to it. Matthew is one of them, and Martin and some others have talked about it. Yeah. But we'd like to have a small team and then go open source with it later on once it's organized and really nice. It's already working good. A lot of aspects, a lot of it fully functional already. So we'll be releasing it in beta next month. But if you're interested, PM Martin. And to say that you'd like to somehow, if you feel like you can contribute to it, we'd love to hear from you.
Sure, and also even if you're not a coder, if you don't have any coding skills or Unity skills, I think we still need some more ideas. If you have any cool ideas to contribute with, like if you have I want to see this in the Pimax VR Experience.
We brainstorm all the time.
Yeah, we have this environment ready now, so we can basically bake in anything. So just bring the ideas. We're going to start some new threads on the forums, so we can discuss all these things together. I think it's going to be very exciting.
It really is. Getting the headset to a plug and play state where you just plug it in and it loads those profiles automatically. You'll be able to vote on them. It's going to be so neat. Absolutely. And people will get to immensely better experience when they launch the average game and without having to fool with it at all, So that's what we're wanting. And of course on the 8K Plus, we should mention, and a lot of the headsets, you've got to modify Steam VR, and there's the settings inside that, and it does that for you. So there's a lot of hand waving that you have to do to get the absolute perfect experience on a Pimax, and this does that. Sure. So anybody out there like to help contribute to that, we'd love to hear from you.
Absolutely.
I guess as far as closing it out.
Yeah, Kevin, thank you.
Everybody, and Martin, thank you, of course, and thank everybody for putting the questions together. Generic, who put the comp, that we should give him a little acknowledgement. Thank you so much for putting this list together. We really appreciate it. Helio for creating the thread to have the questions. Love it. Thank you so much.
And our words do not come only from us, but the entire Pimax team. We're very thankful.
Pimax team thanks all of you for participating and contributing to this, and and actually putting together what questions you'd like to see answered. I hope we helped you. And right after this, we're gonna put in. We'll create a thread with some of the written answers to the top 20 or 25 questions or so that you have those. And we also have a summary of the Pimax Now event. It's in a real short, tight list of all the things, and there's quite a few. There's like 25 things that were discussed and announced, specific things are during the event. So thank you so much for coming. Thank you for sticking to the end of this of the long presentation. And look forward to having immersive VR with all of us together and pushing the limits. Thank you so much.
And in a couple of days or a week from now, something like that, there are going to be people at home playing around with their 8K access now. And I'm so excited to hear it all from you. I want to hear your impressions. I want to hear all from you. It's up to you now to give us all your impressions.
All about mass and all about the new thin foams and the 8KX, and there's so much to talk about.
Absolutely. Thank you, guys.
Thank you guys.
See you in the next one. Bye bye.
Bye bye.